Due to illness, the roles of the nice guys on Business Today will be played by Donnie and Marie. We apologize for the inconvenience.
For 43 years, the career came first, and other people around me, and I think myself, paid very high prices for that. My kids have been very charitable. My daughters are wonderful. They say, "Oh no, you always paid great attention to us. You took care of us." But I always question myself, did I really, how much did I miss?
I'm going to need you to go ahead and come in tomorrow. So if you could be here around 9, that would be great. Okay. And I almost forgot. I'm going to need you to go ahead and come in on Sunday too, okay? We lost some people this week, and we sort of need to play catch up. The nice guys on Business are not really carrying their weight.
Need an education on how to grow your business? The nice guys are here to help. Learn about great customer service, networking, and how just being nice can help you prosper. Now, here are your hosts, Doug Sandler and Strickland Bonner.
Do we want to go over the other 7 things from Randy's list as we're introducing him?
I think I might have disappointed Randy. So I told him he hadn't listened to Tuesday's episode yet. Now that we're on Friday, so yesterday being Thursday, I had a conversation with Randy. I said, you would have loved Tuesday's episode. He hadn't listened to it yet. And I said, we talked all about you. I said, now we actually talked about the first 3 or 4 items on the list. But we hadn't gotten to the rest of them. We cover those on Thursday. But actually, we didn't cover.
We never got to.
So he's probably went way up to the end of the episode. It's like those guys.
Right, and that episode was an hour long yesterday.
Yeah.
Have we started the intro yet?
Yeah. Well, today's Randy Day. So yes, we are totally. It started. Sorry.
Welcome back, Funkin' fans. I'm Strickland Bonner. On the other side of the microphone, Mr. Doug Sandler. And coming up on the microphone, Randy. That's right, it's Randy Friday. But you know what's going to be soon? Randy Saturday.
Oh, geez. Randy is going to be so excited about this. As a matter of fact, when I gave Randy the information, I texted him the news and he responded. Then I got on Facebook Live and shared it, and he hashtagged it. I can't say what he hashtagged because it was a 4-letter word, and today is Bob Orr Day, and I don't want to throw any expletives on.
Oh, really? Yeah. We have to do a clean intro?
Well, I don't know if we have to do a clean intro, but it would probably be preferable for us to not. Bob Orr, he's a pretty important guy.
Yeah, I'm with you. I understand. So we shouldn't do a long intro either and make him wait. I mean, because we still have 7. Actually, we have 8 more things on the Randy list that we haven't gotten to.
We do? I don't even have the Randy list in front of me. Well, why don't we cover a couple of those and pull those up while I'll explain what's going to happen in January with Randy. So Randy,
we did promise that we would get to the rest of them on Thursday, and we didn't.
We didn't.
We're sorry, Randy.
But it was an hour-long episode, so we had to trade off something. And of course, Randy fell to the bottom of the pile. Sorry, Randy.
Sorry, Randy.
We apologize. Well, anyway, so let me get to the great news. So come January, Randy is going to be taking over the Nice Guys episodes. We are moving to 6 days. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. Hold on just 1 second.
What are we thinking? What the heck are we thinking?
6 episodes. We are moving.
Does John Lee Dumas do 7 a week, or does he do 5 a week?
No, he's 7 days a week.
That's crazy.
But okay. But look at it this way. We gain back one more day. We do gain an interview day back with us again. Now Randy can't have that Friday if he's going to take the Saturday.
Right.
And that's
but we're like Chick-fil-A. We're not open on Sundays.
No. We're going to be Chick-fil-A for now until we.
For now.
Who do you?
Oh my God!
Okay, so wait. Would we be interviewing somebody for the Sunday? I mean, who would be our Sunday? You know what? Sunday.
Can we get back to Randy? I don't even want to talk about Sunday. We haven't even started Saturday yet, and you're already trying to fill the Sunday. Like we're not busy enough already.
Haven't you hired somebody to do the editing at this point, Strickland?
I have, but there's lots of other things that need to get done.
Oh my god! You
realize that we're publishing, like between us and all the other ones we're publishing, we're publishing 12 episodes every week.
Oh my gosh! Plus,
there's a lot of coordination that
plus
goes into
our
that.
Episodes, plus SEDx and the new Media Summit BizWiz podcast too. How do you do it all? How the hell do you do it all?
Doug, you just went from, didn't you hire somebody? Aren't you twiddling your thumbs to like, oh my God, how do you do it all? I prefer the second, by the way, because that's how I'm feeling right now. How do I do it all? I'm not sure, but I don't sleep much. So, but it's all good.
It
It's
is.
all good.
It is an amazing run, and we are enjoying it. Hey, I do want to say before Tuesday, because that's going to be the next time we really have a chance to chat at length, that got a lot of feedback on the Facebook community about not only my Insta stories, my Insta story,
Not Insta story, Insta stories.
my Insta stories, but about just my whining. I think.
Oh, really?
I got a lot of pushback from. There's. I just put them into the OneNote. You'll see messages from both Jared and Rick. So
we got a message from Jared and Rick.
So messages from both Jared and Rick about the fact that why do I keep saying that we suck? Because we really don't suck. And I really need to take a different track about this because they're right. We really don't suck. We don't.
We definitely, I don't think that at any point will we ever throw out total self-deprecation because we're just kind of self-deprecating guys.
Yeah.
But we don't have to maybe do it quite so much.
Or maybe we don't have to go to that extreme. Maybe it could be about one specific thing, not just like the entire show sucks. Because the reality is we don't. We are extra good. I mean, we are like two all beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun. Yeah, we are all that and the fries on the side.
I love that.
Speaking of fries,
I'm getting hungry now.
I was going to say that. I would love a bag. When's the last time you went to McDonald's?
You got to tell you, it's been ages. I really eat so little fast food anymore because it's just not healthy. But man, a quarter pounder with cheese, they're so good late at night. Oh.
Hey, Strick, can we? How many of those things on Randy's list did we not get to?
A bunch. Here we go.
Okay.
Number 4. This is, by the way, things for Doug and Strick to make fun of Randy of. And just to put a little context on it, this is this is a list that Randy wrote for us. Okay. Number 4, Randy name drops more than anyone on the planet.
Oh, by the way, if you want to hear the first 3, just go to the last 10 minutes of Tuesday's episode because we hit the first 3. It was not the first half of the list. It was
not the first half. It was the first part of the list, the truncation of the list. This is the continuation of the list.
Yeah.
Number 5, Randy sometimes sounds like a 14-year-old girl on the air.
It's true. It's very true.
Randy snorts.
Hey, hold on a second. Before you go beyond that, is there a way in post that you might be able to fix that?
I could, but it would be work. I'm not going to do that.
Okay, got it.
I think it's part of his personality. It's all good.
Right.
I like it.
14-year-old girl. Nice, Randy.
You start skipping and umming and ahhing a lot. I don't fix that in post. Why should I fix Randy's?
Well, you said I did something. What did you say that I do a lot of?
You used to, and you've gotten much better. Yeah, you repeat the same word over again. So you'll be like, so what I'm talking about, I think what you guys really mean, like, in other words, you're obviously trying to figure out what you want to say.
Yeah.
But instead of just pausing, you say the same word over and over again. Although you got much better at it.
Good. I'm glad. Okay. What else does Randy do? Let's get back to Randy.
Number 7, Randy should not be left alone with technological devices as he has the potential to single-handedly bring down the internet.
So I don't.
Good to know.
Okay, so that's an interesting point. I was having a conversation with him about the interviews that he is doing and the fact that he's actually going to go to Randy, I don't mean to call you out on this, but holy crap, really, Randy? He's going into a studio to do the recordings of this because he can't seem to get the technology right in his house or with his computer. And I'm thinking, Strick, isn't it just as simple as a USB microphone and a computer?
It is. Although, if he's going into a studio, why am I not getting 2 separate tracks? I mean, he's actually taking the time and spending the money to go into a studio. At least give it to me on 2 separate tracks so I can make you sound even better, Randy. I think at some point we need to walk him through the USB idea. Maybe after, 10 or 15 interviews, he'd be comfortable enough to have us walk him through that. That would be good.
Maybe so. I'm going to leave that up to you boys. Oh, he did, by the way, make a mention through text messaging today. He says, I don't really think that Strickland is gay enough. So Strickland.
but you are gay enough?
Yeah. Oh, totally. I'm totally gay enough. You are not gay enough.
Dude, that means I'm the balance, okay? Randy, you are the ultra gay guy, all right? Doug is the somewhat gay,
moderately
homosexual, heterosexual, And I'm the guy. I mean, look, I could be even less so, right? I could be like a sports-loving, gun-loving, Republican, rah-rah, I love America kind of guy. That would be a lot less gay. But I agree. I don't have those kind of tendencies, but I'm not like the far extreme. But I do think we need
I
balance.
appreciate the fact that I am moderately gay. I like that. I'm okay with that. I really am.
Okay.
Oh, my wife just said, wait, what, hon? Can you hear that? My Danielle says, what does moderately gay mean?
Yeah, I was wondering the same thing myself, because you can certainly have metrosexual tendencies.
I don't even know what that means. Is it metro or metro? Is it metrosexual or metrosexual?
It's really metro, I guess.
I don't know.
And like, somewhat effeminate tendencies, which is what I think of you, but moderately homosexual, I don't know if that's really the appropriate way to say it.
Well, I think we have to refer to our resident gay man. I think we need, Randy, we need your help.
Moderately homosexual. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No,
I mean,
I'm quite proud to be moderately. No, I think it's moderately effeminate. I think that's where I probably hit that category better than any.
Right. And that's different. Again, to get away from the stereotype, there's a
Right.
difference between effeminate and homosexual. Many homosexuals do carry themselves somewhat effeminately, but not all of them, and you don't have to, and it's no big deal if you do, and no big deal if you don't. And
Interesting.
just carrying yourself effeminately doesn't make you homosexual.
How about my little white dog? Is that okay? And the Cosmo drinking thing, is that still fine?
That's pretty homosexual, I think. Now that we've offended absolutely everybody. Hey, I thought we were going to keep this nice and clean and easy for Bob Orr. I guess we threw that right out the window, didn't we?
We haven't said anything wrong, have we? What was there a problem with anything? It's not like did we belittle, demean, or do anything wrong to a segment of the population?
Somewhat politically incorrect, I would put it that way.
Well, you know what? Too bad. Too bad.
Number 8, Randy actually thinks he is the male Aaron Brockovich, though he has never saved a town.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
I hope that he is able to land that Erin interview one more time. I know that he's had a chance to interview her before. I don't know if he's working on another opportunity to get that interview, but that would be a ridiculous interview as well.
That would be cool. That'd be really cool.
All right.
Number 9, Randy thinks that the addition of Mrs. Dash qualifies as cooking. Cooking in quotes.
Very true.
I like that. So basically, if you open up a can of chicken noodle soup and put it in the microwave, if you add Mrs. Dash, you've cooked that soup. I'm with you, Randy. 100%. I love it.
Yep.
I love it. Number 10, Randy's afraid of bunny rabbits.
Oh, I don't know why.
Interesting.
I want to hear. I think he did get into that on the episode that I interviewed him. Maybe a little bit, but I can't seem to recall a lot of my conversation with Randy. I was laughing too hard.
You can't recall your conversation with any of the interviews.
That's
you've
true.
only done like 100 since then, right?
I know. True.
Number 11 and the bonus. Hey, did anyone happen to catch that Randy wrote a book called Show Me? Hopefully we're helping his book sales a little bit, but we won't help his book sales if we don't talk about it. Show Me. It is available at showmejones.com. You should check it out.
Hey, Strick, I know Tuesday was several days ago. Is it possible just maybe to give us the first 3 just one more time?
Oh, the numbers 1, 2, and 3 on Randy's list?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If you like. And what I love about these on the top of the list, number 1, the gay thing. And then Randy put right after it, done. So checked off the list, right? Number 2, ultra casual wardrobe, done.
Mm-hmm.
And number 3, Randy is super anal retentive, done. By the way, I went to the doctor today.
Okay. What about? Oh, does this have
super
anything to do
anal
with being
retentive?
Anal retentive. What about
It
it?
just made me think of that. I had to get my prostate exam, unfortunately.
Oh, is today?
Just made me think of super anal retentive.
Is today with a physical day?
Yeah, it was.
So
that's why it took so long. It wasn't just like quick checkup. It was actually a physical. Today.
Male doctor or female doctor?
Female doctor.
Okay, so is she's required, I think, by law to have somebody else in the room?
Really?
I think so.
I am not aware of that. Well, she's actually not a doctor. It's a physician's assistant.
Oh, what is she if she's not a doctor?
She's a physician's assistant.
Oh, okay, all right. I just thought maybe you like to go to get your prostate examined.
Oh my God! You went the opposite way of where I was going. Where I was going like I'm bending over to get my prostate examined, and I got to tell you, I got a little excited and I wasn't sure what to do with that. Usually when I get my prostate exam, I'm paying for it, I'm paying for the appointment, but in a different way. And I was thinking, should I have tipped her afterwards? I don't know. I'm not really sure.
That is probably one of the most uncomfortable experiences that one could possibly have in public. Not in a public
we have an
place,
interview today with Bob Orr. It probably doesn't matter because Bob has long since pressed the stop button. We know he's not going to. He's like, who are these jerk-offs? Randy seemed like such a nice guy. Why is he affiliated with these two idiots?
Even more reason, Randy, why you don't want us to do the intros come January.
Because you just don't know what we're going to say.
Never. Don't know. Oh, gosh. All right. So we're 15 minutes in and we haven't started the interview yet. So do you just want to get to the interview with Randy? Okay.
With Bob Orr.
Yeah. So Randy has his Show Me More segment, and it is right here on the Nice Guys on Business podcast. Let's get to it. The Bob Orr interview. Here we go.
Hello. Back again. Randall Kenneth Jones. Show Me More. On the Nice Guys on Business. I got a guy smirking across
What does that mean? Show me more.
Well, my book is called Show Me.
I read it.
And so this is Show Me More. See how clever I am? I'm staying with the brand. I've got my friend Bob Orr, a former CBS News correspondent. Now, though a young Bob Orr dreamed of being the play-by-play announcer for the Pittsburgh Pirates, and he has his Pirates mug with him, he began his television news career in 1973 at WTRF-TV in his hometown of Wheeling, West Virginia. Bob joined CBS News in July 1993, where he remained until his retirement in February 2015. Bob primarily focused on two beats. From 94 to 2006, he was the transportation correspondent covering safety and security issues. After 9/11, though he retained the transportation correspondent title, Bob began focusing on security and counterterrorism. When the Department of Homeland Security was established, he formally added DHS to his coverage responsibilities. In November 2006, Bob took over the Justice Beat as the CBS News Justice and Homeland Security correspondent, where he was the lead correspondent covering domestic and international terrorism, as well as U.S. law enforcement issues. For over 2 decades, Bob Orr had a front row seat to just about every international event. Okay, was there anybody else working at CBS News?
Nope, I was a one-man band. That was it. It was the best-kept secret in broadcasting.
I mean, we have like 30 minutes for this interview, and I think I took like 25 of it just doing your resume.
I got tired hearing that. Yeah.
Now, okay, the thing you told me before that I thought was funny, well, it's not funny, but you talked about being the master of disaster. I mean, you covered some practically every tough story for a 20-year period.
I did airplane crashes from 1993 to 2006, about 14 major airplane crashes.
Which is bad enough.
And that's horrible. I mean, it's horrible. I've got some very poignant stories from those days, but overall, that's kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
And in 2006, I said to my bosses, you know what? I really can't do a lot more of this. I want a different beat. And they looked at me with compassion and they said, we were thinking that you needed a new beat too. And I thought, wow, that's great. And they said, we're going to put you in charge of terrorism. And so it went from bad to worse. I tell people that I'm a bad guest at a cocktail party because after about 2 minutes of talking to me, everyone's really depressed.
You can clear the room.
And you either go home or have another drink. And I don't know what's worse.
So when I end a party and I have you there, I say, Bob, start talking. And then everybody's going to go home.
It's all it takes. It's just kind of like kryptonite.
But you married well, so we'll keep Susie Orr. That's the thing.
She's the star of our show.
She is the star. Yeah. So now, okay, you said a quote to me, which I love. And I want to kind of explore this. What you'd said to me before is we live in the most connected time man has ever known. However, I would argue that we were also the most misinformed.
You know what? Bingo. Whoever said that really knew
He's
what he
a
was talking about.
genius. He's a genius, and somehow he is no longer on the air.
Here's what I meant by that. Everyone has in their pocket an iPhone or a Samsung Galaxy phone, some kind of device, which is also a camera, by the way, and a recorder, by the way.
Right. We're all news people.
And
We're
you
all
have
journalists.
Instagram, and you have Facebook, and you have Twitter, and everyone is really connected. And it's really important that we all know everything about everybody else at all times. Yet, if you ask someone a reasonably deep question about a topic du jour, they have no idea. They look at you with this blank look. They're not informed.
Emphasis on deep.
They're
question.
right. They're not
Right.
informed. I think they're entertained. And I think the great tragedy is that all this technology, as good as it can be, it's kind of triumphed over truth in some cases and over substance in many cases. So I think, sure, we're real connected. Everyone knows everything about everybody. You know, my phone's buzzing in my pocket right now.
Right.
But we're not that informed. And just look at our public dialogue. And it tells you people still aren't close to consensus on a lot of very, very important issues. And before you can have consensus, you have to have understanding. I just don't think we're doing a very good job of that.
Well, you know, let's talk about, okay, the concept of fake news, for example, that's not really new. I mean, there's been bogus stories, fake news for a long time. We have given it a name. It's been given a name now. How do we what's your thoughts on this? How do we decipher it? Because there is truly fake news out there. How do you define it? And
There's a
it's been
lot
there
of
forever.
fake news, and it's
Yeah.
been around for a long time.
Right.
And the idea of bogus stories being planted to try to skew public opinion or direct policy, that's not really new. What's given this kind of currency is that the president is out loudly and on a regular basis calling the so-called mainstream media fake media. You know, he's got his preferred conduit that he watches all the time, and then he tweets, but he watches other things too, only so that he can pick at that to kind of beef up his base and fire up his base. Here's the problem. In the race to be first with some stories, a lot of outlets are getting things wrong. That's a problem. But what's worse than that is if you have someone who's looking for some kind of perceived competitive advantage, whether it's for marketing, profit, whatever, and they're just making things up. They're embellishing. This is happening, and it's happening on networks. It's happening in newspapers. So how do we defend ourselves against that?
Well, and I will point out a gentleman named Jeffrey Fager, the executive producer of 60 Minutes, did say to me how thorough you, Bob Orr, were in making sure that a story did not air until you knew it was accurate.
Well, so there's this noise out there. This if you want to call it fake news, that's fine. I would call it inaccurate news, or sometimes press releases skewed news, stuff that's done for an
Right.
agenda. That's out there. It's a minefield if you're trying to be informed.
Right.
So the only defense we have is to take in enough different sources, a diversity of opinion, analyses, and try to come to some kind of consensus of clarity, some kind of consensus of understanding. We might find the truth. We might not find the truth,
Right.
but we're going to have a better chance of calling BS on, story A or story B. The idea, though, that only one side is right and right all the time, and the other perceived side, your opponent, he's always wrong, that's garbage. That's garbage. And for the president to come out and say, well, the mainstream media is fake news, and then for the same guy to come out 20 minutes later and put out a tweet that is provably fake or false, what's the message to all of us?
Right. I mean, how do we, okay, we talked about this before. I'm not going to disclose where I am on the political spectrum but I will say that I think I hover around the middle. We talked about this before.
Mm-hmm.
Am I too quiet? Are we all too quiet? I mean, because I think there is a huge, I know there are people out there that they hover around the middle, and I might lean toward one side, but my ear is leaning in the other direction going, what did you say? What did you say? Is it just impossible to think we can get people to self-educate? Am I the only one, or I'm part of a small group that care about trying to understand both perspectives? That's more interesting to me.
The loudest voices come from the sidelines. The loudest voices come from the polls. The most, virulent voices come from the polls. Whether you're right or whether you're left, you're pushing an extreme agenda. And you're intolerant by ideology, and you're not open to other ideas. So the ideologues are on the left and on the right. In the middle, you have the people who have more malleable viewpoints.
Right.
People that will listen to maybe an idea that's left in one case and right in another case, and they'll try to find something that makes sense to them. They're more of the compromising group.
Right.
Unfortunately, right now, compromise is out of fashion. If you're a compromiser, if you're a moderate, if you're someone who is trying to reach public consensus for the public good, you are ridiculed and vilified from the people at the polls because they're trying to protect their bases. I think it's a big problem. It's a big problem. We're yelling at each other from the corners. The people in the middle who are willing to listen to input, I think they're cowed to a degree. So back to your question, is the middle too quiet? Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
I think I am.
I think it's true.
Yeah.
But what's solution is? What's the solution to that? You stand up in the middle and you start shouting, and then you catch flack from the right and the left?
Right.
We have
Which
to
is
get,
true.
Which is true. I mean, we have to get past this idea that compromise is bad. The president, before he was president, wrote a book, The Art of the Deal, right?
Right.
Well, in any deal that I've ever been involved in that involved negotiation, it's a give a little, take a little proposition. It's a not a quid pro quo necessarily, but it's a trade-off in points. You might win a point, you might lose a point. The whole idea is you get to a greater point. You get to a central point. Nowadays, that's not what they're trying to do. It's scorched earth policy. It's not enough to win. You have to eviscerate the opponent.
Right.
You have to tear down and burn down their house. It's a dialogue that needs to change. The media is kind of caught in this, and to the degree that the media makes that worse with inaccurate stories or fake stories or the republishing of stories that to be maybe a little sketchy or even worse than that, outright falsehoods. If the media is fanning the flames of this kind of ugly dialogue, that needs to stop.
Well, you know what I think, too, is interesting? This is not just politics.
No.
I mean, if you look at the concepts you're talking about, if you look at the noisiest falling to one point of view or the other, the left or the right,
Right.
Those are the noisiest people in pretty much any scenario I've ever been in.
You ever been to a city council meeting?
Yeah.
It's true.
A volunteer board. We were talking about
Absolutely.
a volunteer board. The loudest people are on either side. They're the most opinionated. And those of us in the middle who I celebrate all of us who try to listen. I celebrate all of us who try to understand and listen to both points of view. But being consistently silent is also not working. But as somebody who's a creative, I also know that collaboration brings, and you referenced this before, collaboration actually means better.
The American public is angry. And if you ask them why they're angry, they say, well, because they're not getting anything done in Washington. You hear it all the time. Congress isn't getting anything done. Well, here's the news bulletin. They're not going to get anything done until we have a sea change in the way we approach these kinds of problems. I don't care what problem you're talking about. Tax reform, they're struggling with right now. Obamacare, they've gone back and forth. Entitlement reform, this kind of thing. There have to be voices along the spectrum that are reasoned, that are intelligent, that are informed, that can help not necessarily make you believe what I believe. That's not the game.
Right, and
I'm not trying to turn your philosophy into my philosophy, but I'm saying to you, Randy, look at it this way. Let's come to some kind of agreement that helps you and helps me.
Right.
And that's not happening. And that's why people are mad.
But okay, a little bit of it. So how's it feel to be in the living room on the couch?
It's great. I'm very angry. I yell all the time. Those guys in Congress aren't getting anything. No, you know what?
Because that's so different. I mean, how long did it take you to adjust to, I'm not reporting this anymore. I can have an opinion, but I'm Joe Average now, man. I'm sitting in my living room and I'm on the couch.
You're willing to give me average. That's good.
I gave you average.
Well,
so.
You know what? It's a fair question. I do not miss the day-to-day craziness of the newsroom. I did that for 43 years. I'm kind of done with that. Glad I did it. Glad it's over.
But it had to take a toll, too.
It did, and we can talk about that.
Yeah.
But in terms of adjusting, the only problem I notice is from time to time I'll have stress dreams where I'm back in the newsroom and I'm not meeting the deadline. It's the old classic, I don't have my homework done type dream. Yeah. And it occurs to me, it's not that these are unsettling, they're not. But when I wake up and I think about that, I think, wow, I must have deeper scars than I know about these kinds of things that I lived through. But it didn't take a long time to adjust because you know what? For 43 years, the career came first. And other people around me, and I think myself, paid very high prices for that. My kids have been very charitable. My daughters are wonderful. They say, oh, no, you always paid great attention to us. You took care of us. But I always question myself. Did I really, how much did I miss? And
Can
that
I just tell you,
bothers
though,
me.
I will share with you, though, I think those of us who work hard, and I am too, I have two kids that are 20, now I'm 28, 27 and 28. And, Bob, I think we all question that. I mean, that whole work-life balance thing.
Oh, it's a tough thing. But the thing is, the reason why this is relevant to what we're talking about here is now I have time to do that.
Right.
My priorities have kind of turned around. Now I can watch the news. It doesn't drive the rest of my day. I might get irritated or piqued by something and do some research. Just as a matter of fact, I was online and I looked and I saw that the FBI had released 1,500 pages in the Newtown shooting case. This happened in 2012.
Which you covered.
Which I covered,
Right.
which took a great toll on a lot of people. And so it's in something called the FBI Vault online. You can find it, 1,500 pages. Well, who do you know in America would sit there and waste their afternoon going through 1,500 pages of FBI documents? And I did. And I did. And so I said to my wife, I haven't completely kicked the habit here. That was like crack to me in a way. So I can't completely divorce myself intellectually from the challenge of the job.
But that's by choice. It's by
that's
choice.
by choice.
That's
and
who you
that's
are.
the key.
Right.
And I only did that, Randy, after I went to the gym and before I went to play golf. So I didn't have a deadline over my head. I felt like I learned something, which is also a key. I think that the real trick in retirement, and it's kind of a funny word, is not to get intellectually lazy, because that can happen.
Well, I think that, living in Florida as we do, and we see it, and I'm a huge advocate. We see the people that are active, involved, thinkers, readers, and there's a huge difference in the life they live. I mean, I talked to you about that when you first retired. I said, "Oh, you're not going to like this." So I'm going to ask you, how is Bob Orr 2.0 coming along? What are you going to? Any plans for the future?
I struggle with that still. I don't know. I don't have a plan. I don't have like a game. I'm still open to the idea that the Pirates may call with that play-by-play job.
Yeah.
and my number is 202. No, that would be fun. But I don't.
You did it once.
I did. I did a spring training game for the Phillies because they were nice to me.
Yeah.
And they wanted to fulfill the dream of an old guy. So they said, "Why don't you do a spring training game?"
Well, I will tell you,
it was fun.
I was going to talk baseball with you, but it was going to be so short that I was like, I played and I was good. I was on first base. I was actually really good.
Yeah.
And I know the game and I know home run and foul ball, but we're kind of done at that point. So,
but so I don't have a game plan. I think about writing from time to time. I've written a few things. I thought about teaching, and I would like to maybe do a little bit of that. I've done a lot of speeches. People say to me all the time, and down here in Florida, it's an occupational hazard for old retired guys like me. They say, "Do you believe in free speech?" I say, "Well, of course I believe in free speech." And they go, "How about giving one?" and then you go and you give another one and another one. So I've done a lot of that, and I've enjoyed that because when you go to talk to people like a civic club or a neighborhood group, you always learn more than you impart. Always. It's always true. And that's not just a cliche. It's true. You know that from talking to people.
That's why I speak.
Sure.
And I agree with you. That's why I'm here right now.
But do I have the next great project for me? Not really. And I don't even know how hard I'm looking for that.
Yeah.
I'm fairly content.
Well, I want you to do what makes you happy, but I've spent enough time with you to know that you're a gentleman. You're somebody I trust. And I think your voice is still needed. And I personally just want to encourage you, whatever Bob Orr 2.0 is, I encourage you to find it, because I do think it would be tragic to silence you other than to garden clubs in Naples, Florida.
Well, and not that we have anything against garden clubs, right?
We love garden clubs.
We love
garden clubs
and civic groups.
Yeah.
No, it's a fair point, and I appreciate it. And thank you for the compliment. But I think the main thing is to stay plugged in.
Yeah.
And that's not just for me. That's for everybody. You have a duty, not to get too crazy and corny here, but you do have a duty to be informed. And I think that we're falling short.
Can we repeat that? You have a duty to be informed.
Well,
I don't think we
you
can
do.
just. No, but I'm saying I agree with you, but I can't let that just slide by without us really emphasizing that, because I agree with you so much. I mean, we form opinions based on a hashtag. Nobody was taught this in school.
No.
We were taught to understand. We were taught to research. We were taught to explore. We were taught to listen. When did it become okay to not do any of that?
Right. there are too many shortcuts. There are too many conveniences. Google's a wonderful search engine, but it's almost in some ways a little too easy.
Yeah.
People need to reach out. They need to challenge their own biases. Bias is an interesting thing. When you talk about fake news, once you get through the whole fake news headline part of that, what you eventually get to is the idea of bias.
Yeah.
And people always say, well, he's biased or she's biased. When people say the mainstream media is biased, what do they usually mean? What they usually mean, the people that say that the loudest, what they usually mean is what's coming out of the tube or coming out of the radio doesn't comport with that person's beliefs.
With the listener's beliefs.
That's right.
Right.
It doesn't comport with my predisposed, philosophy. So if I'm watching someone on television and they're kind of singing from the same song sheet that I sing from, I'm like, hey, that guy's pretty smart. That's because it's human nature to gravitate towards people who will validate you or who think like you do. That's
in every aspect.
That's human
of our
nature.
life.
And you
Right.
know what? That's not necessarily that bad.
Yeah.
But what I tell people is from time to time, stop and challenge yourself and say, I've often thought this. I kind of believe it's this way. Am I right about this? Don't accept your own premise.
Right.
Be open to the idea that maybe the guy that's saying something from the other direction has a point. And that's what we're not doing enough of.
I just think that's more interesting, of course, which is why I'm here. And maybe, like I said, maybe I'm unique, but I don't think we can scream and shout that enough.
I think you're right.
I really don't.
I think you're right.
It's more interesting to hear what different people have to say and what they think and why. And you had said to me before, not just we talked about before, your belief systems, think about them and why you believe as you do. Don't just, if your parents passed it down to you, fine, which happens. And I've had that
Happens
in my family.
in every family.
But
happens in every family.
question your own beliefs so you understand yourself even better.
Right. And it doesn't make you a weak person. See, that's the problem. People get so resolute in what I've always believed this. I'm going to be strong and resolute. Maybe you need to think about it again. And I think if more people did that, our dialogue would improve.
I have to ask this because I am a guy who tries to. I look at the world through rose-colored glasses. Bob, or please tell me what we have to be optimistic about.
You're a Pollyanna guy.
I'm pretty try to be happy, and I'm not all the time. I put a public face. You're never going to find anything negative on my Facebook page, even if I'm having a really rotten day, because I'm just not that guy. But what do we have to be optimistic about in this world, in this life, out of news, out of journalism? What do we have to be optimistic about?
Well, look, I think once you strip away all the problems we have, we still live in the greatest country in the world.
True.
With more freedoms than you can find anywhere else.
Yes.
We have a higher standard of living than most other places. We have opportunities. We have the freedom of choice. These are all good things. These are all tenets that the country was founded on and what makes it great to be an American. Trump says, President Trump says, I'm going to make America great again. America always was great. It doesn't need to be made great again.
Yeah.
So we should be upbeat about that. Our economy is strong. There are opportunities. Now, there are pockets of problems, clearly. There's poverty in this country. There are people that aren't getting their fair share. There are people that have been neglected by the systems, have fallen through the cracks. It's our job to try to lift those people up.
All right.
But I think it's easy to get negative. When you did what I did for as long as I did, you go through stages. First, you go through
I'm exhausted just listening to it now, Bob.
you go through kind of skepticism. Maybe there's no good in the world. And then it's cynical. There's definitely no good in the world. And then you become despondent.
Yeah.
Oh, woe is me. You have to, and I used to make myself step back from that too and say, there's a lot of great things going on. And the other thing too, we talked about technology. Technology is not the enemy. Okay. So that's giving new opportunities to people. You couldn't do a podcast
No,
a few years ago.
that's true.
So technology is not the enemy. It's just we have to harness it. The technology can't triumph over talent. The talent has to kind of rise. So I think there's still a lot of great opportunities in this country. I really do think our best days can be ahead. Can be.
And I think we have to continue to think that way, or they won't be. It will be a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Well, I think that's the danger.
Yeah.
I think that's the danger. But we do have to have a more compassionate dialogue, a more inclusive dialogue. People need to be more tolerant. I see, I don't do a lot of social media stuff, but other people do, and I kind of snoop on their pages. That's like I look at my wife's Facebook.
I knew exactly
you
what
knew
you
what
meant.
I meant. There's too much hating, like this
Oh,
idea
it's
of
horrible.
the haters rule. Well, no, they don't. No, they don't. They're the noisiest. They're the noisiest, but they don't have to rule.
Yeah.
We can't let that be. So I'm not hopeless. I'm really not hopeless. I mean, I think we have significant problems. We've got all kinds of problems. And not to weigh into this because I really don't want to get into it, but we need to, like the gun debate is a good example. People can't have a reasonable discussion about it because everyone goes to their camp and they lock into their position, and tragedies like Las Vegas come and go, and there are opportunities there. There are lessons to be learned, opportunities there to improve a lot of things, improve gun safety, improve mental health, improve public response. And we miss these opportunities because we get hung up on our little fiefdoms of ideology. So I just think we need to lower the temperature, quit yelling at each other, and try to find some consensus and commonality that gives us a little bit more optimism.
Well, Mr. Orr, thank you so much. Okay, the one thing I will say in closing is I've tried since you moved here to get this Bob Orr thing going.
How's that going?
It's not going at all.
That's because I come right behind you and go, don't listen to that guy.
Don't call him Bob Orr. But who did you say also called you Bob Orr?
Oh, a lot of people have done that.
But who was the big name? Who was the big name that Dan Rather? You told me Dan Rather
he
called
did.
you Bob Orr.
It wasn't exactly the same intonation, but he was.
I'll still take it.
He would get on the phone and go, Bob, Dan Rather. And that was pretty good impersonation. And then when I do my report that night, if I had kind of hit all the marks and I'd satisfied Dan, when he would take it back from me, he'd go, Bob Orr in Washington.
Okay, I'm going to change it. Bob Orr.
Yeah, kind of like that.
Thank you, sir. You are a gentleman. You are my friend. I'm so grateful. Dave Elliott, Vox Now Studios in Naples. Thank you so much. VoxNow.com. That's me, my little ad for Dave. In closing, please let me just say, don't just hear, listen. Don't just listen, think. Don't just think, act. Bye-bye.
For Doug, Strickland, the Nice Guys on Business podcast, I'm Steve O'Brien. Yo, bartender, Jobo needs a refill. We need to talk about your TPS reports and the Nice Guys on Business.